We're back with another episode of Nostalgia, and this time we're talking Pokemon. In case you're unfamiliar with Pokemon, the concept has always been to explore a specific region depending on which game, going around catching and leveling Pokemon. As you make your way through new areas, you'll encounter trainers to battle and find gyms you can challenge. I've always had a soft spot for Pokemon, going all the way back to being a kid when my grandmother got myself Pokemon Red and my cousin Pokemon Blue. I was pretty into the series until after Ruby and Sapphire. I eventually got back into it when X and Y came out on the 3DS, but didn't bother with Sun or Moon. I also played a bit of Pokemon Go when it first came out, and for a bit after that when the third generation released. The truth is, it is harder to stay invested in this series as more Pokemon get released. There's so many to keep track of and to try and catch. Some of them feel bland or at least don't really interest me. At least with the first couple generations, I like the designs of all of them for the most part. But I'm getting off track. Right now I want to talk about Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. I wasn't sure how to feel when this was coming out. It's essentially the console version of Pokemon that I've always wanted, and it's a remake of Yellow. But they added Pokemon Go capture features and some other things as well. The first thing I'll say is, I honestly don't mind the new catching mechanic. It does suck that you can no longer battle wild Pokemon, but it does make grinding experience by catching a lot faster. Another thing to point out is, it feels like they've doubled or even tripled the amount of trainers, so you're still able to get your battle fix in quite often. Another reason I don't mind the new capture mechanic is because finally, you can see which Pokemon are walking around in the wild. Don't want to bother with a specific Pokemon? You can just avoid walking toward them. Honestly, it's such a nice addition to add, and it makes walking around and trying to catch Pokemon so much better. Another thing they added is the ability to have Pokemon outside with you as you walk around. It's awesome being able to have my Arbok follow me, or even fly around on a Charizard, or ride through town on an Onix. Nintendo and Game Freak did a great job on designing this game. It feels nostalgic and new at the same time. Honestly, if any game so far would best describe nostalgia, it would be this one. One thing I noticed playing through this game is that it feels shorter. I think taking out all the wild Pokemon battles is one of the main reasons for that, but there is still some endgame content. Once you beat the Elite Four, you can work on catching the rest of the original 150, including legendaries, and on top of that, you can fight master trainers. Due to my level after the Elite Four and time constraints, I didn't attempt a master trainer. From my understanding, when you approach a master trainer, there's one for each Pokemon, you can challenge them by using that same Pokemon. If you win, you gain the title of master trainer. So for example, Arbok is my favorite Pokemon. If I beat the Arbok master trainer, I would get the Arbok Master Trainer title. Look, it's not a major addition to the game, but I still find it to be a nice new feature. Overall, the game feels like a more casual version of Pokemon, which isn't a bad thing. I still had a blast playing it, even if the ways you can play it are limited. Unfortunately for the Switch, there are only 3 ways to play it. You can play the game in portable mode, with a Pokeball controller, or with one Joy-Con. Unfortunately, I can't use my Pro Controller, and I can't use 2 Joy-Cons on my grip. So when playing on a TV to record all this footage, I was limited to using one Joy-Con since I don't have the Pokeball controller. I know this might not be an issue for all, but it was something I found really annoying. Especially when you consider paying like $100 for the Pro Controller, and there are some games you can't even use it for. The game is really beautiful to look at. While the Nintendo Switch may not be as powerful as the Xbox One X or the PS4 Pro, but that doesn't stop some of their games from just looking incredible. Outside of that, it's Pokemon. You either love Pokemon or you don't, but if you do enjoy Pokemon, I highly recommend checking it out. I felt so much nostalgia playing through this. Seeing all these old characters I grew up with was absolutely amazing. This game was made for Pokemon fans, and it's definitely an experience worth having. This has been Nostalgia.